There is a door within you that opens only when you decide to put down the weight you were never meant to carry. That weight is resentment. That door is called forgiveness. And what lies beyond it is not weakness, not surrender, but your own unshackled freedom. You see, your soul came into this world not to hold on, but to let go. Not to collect wounds and grievances, but to grow through them and move beyond them. But the mind, that loyal servant of the ego, clutches tightly to its pain. It builds a fortress around every injustice and names it truth. It stockpiles old betrayals like sacred scrolls and keeps them on the shelves of your inner world, dusting them off with pride, as if remembering the pain is the same as preventing it. But what the mind calls protection, the soul calls imprisonment. There is no peace in holding on to anger, no joy in nursing the ache of what was. You do not become stronger by staying bitter. You do not become wiser by staying wounded. You do not become free by replaying the same hurt over and over, like a broken hymn echoing through the halls of your past. Forgiveness is not about the other. It is not a pardon for what was done, nor a denial of your pain. It is the act of removing the knife from your own heart, not because the blade didn't cut deep, but because you choose to bleed no more. To forgive is not to forget. It is to remember differently. To remember from a place of clarity rather than chaos, from love rather than fear. It is to release the story that pain is who you are and return to the truth that you are divine, that you are whole, that you are not your suffering. The great philosophers and spiritual teachers did not tell us to forgive because it is easy. They told us to forgive because it is the only way to fly. Jesus said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." He did not say this to comfort others. He said it to liberate himself from the cycle of pain. The Buddha taught that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. And even in the Stoic writings of Marcus Aurelius, you will find this wisdom repeated, that you cannot control what others do, but you can always control whether you will let it define you. So I ask you, dear soul, what are you still carrying? Whose name lives in your body like a wound that never closes? What memory still haunts the sacred quiet of your heart? You cannot move forward while dragging the past behind you like a broken cart. And you cannot awaken to the vast sky of your being while clutching tightly to the smallness of your pain. Forgiveness is not something you give to another. It is something you give to yourself, a declaration that you will no longer allow another person's unconsciousness to shape your destiny. It is a sacred refusal to let your past become your prison. You are not here to stay stuck. You are here to transform. And what transforms you is not more anger, not more revenge, not more justification, but surrender. Yes, forgiveness is surrender, but not the kind the ego fears. It is not surrendering to someone else's power. It is surrendering the illusion that you ever lost yours. When you forgive, you take your power back. You reclaim your peace. You stop waiting for someone else to make it right. You stop negotiating with ghosts. Think of the ocean. It does not try to hold back the waves. It allows them to rise, crash, dissolve, and return. That is forgiveness. It is allowing the emotions to move through you, not to stay stuck in you. It is a tide that washes away the hardened footprints of pain so that you may walk barefoot again on the shore of your now. There is no timeline for forgiveness, only a readiness. And you will know you are ready when you are more tired of suffering than you are afraid of letting go. You may think you cannot forgive until the other apologizes. But what if that apology never comes? What if the one who hurt you cannot see their blindness, cannot feel your sorrow, cannot meet you in your depth? Will you let their ignorance hold the key to your inner peace? The truth is this: your freedom has never depended on them. Your healing does not require their awakening. Your soul does not need their remorse to return to its radiance. The energy of unforgiveness creates a dam in the river of life. It blocks the flow of your joy, your vitality, your intuition. And when that dam is released, when forgiveness breaks it open, your spirit rushes forward like a flood, powerful, clear, and reborn. You were not created to live in a cage of old emotions. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the names they called you or the moments they abandoned you. You are the one who survived, the one who still breathes, the one who even now has the power to love again. Forgiveness is not forgetting what happened. It is remembering who you are. You are a soul made of stardust and silence. You are the timeless breath of the divine. And no wound, no matter how deep, can erase your eternal worth. When you choose forgiveness, you join with the great current of healing that flows through all life. You participate in the sacred act of renewal. You declare to the universe, I am no longer a victim of my past. I am the author of my now. And the moment you do this, the very moment the chains fall, the air becomes lighter. The heart, once bruised and clenched, begins to soften. The breath becomes a prayer. And something ancient within you exhales for the first time in years. This is the miracle of forgiveness. Not that it changes the past, but that it transforms your relationship to it. You begin to see the pain as teacher, the betrayal as mirror, the wound as initiation. You understand that nothing was wasted, that even the darkest chapter was guiding you home. You may ask, but how do I forgive what feels unforgivable? And the answer, my friend, is not in your mind. It is in your willingness. Forgiveness is not an intellectual act. It is a sacred decision. You don't have to feel it yet. You only have to be willing. Willing to loosen your grip, willing to see differently, willing to heal. And from that willingness, grace will come. A new perspective will dawn. The heart, once closed like a fist, will begin to open like a flower in the sun. You don't need to know how to forgive. You only need to say yes to the healing that is already trying to reach you. Your soul is not interested in blame. It is not interested in being right. It is interested in being free. And forgiveness, true, deep soul-level forgiveness is the key. There is a sacred moment, not seen with the eyes, but felt within the very breath when you finally realize that holding on is hurting more than it's helping. And in that moment, something ancient in you weeps, not out of sadness, but out of relief, because the soul has waited lifetimes for you to come to this edge, the edge where you no longer define yourself by the pain inflicted upon you. This is where transformation begins. To forgive is to choose truth over trauma. It is to let the memory exist without letting it possess you. It is to open the gates of your being and allow the light to pour in where darkness once lived, like a tenant overstaying its welcome. You do not need to fix the past. You do not need to rewrite it. You only need to stop carrying it as if it were your identity. You are not what they did. You are not what they didn't do. You are not the brokenness you inherited. You are the awareness watching it all unfold. And that awareness is untouched. It is eternal. It is divine. The ego wants justice. It wants the scales balanced. It wants the pain repaid. But the soul only wants peace. And peace cannot exist where you are still rehearsing your pain. You may think you are protecting yourself by not forgiving. You may believe that staying angry keeps you safe. But in truth, it is like drinking poison every day, hoping it will harm someone else. It won't. It is only your joy, your vitality, your presence that is being quietly eroded. Forgiveness is not saying what they did was okay. It is saying that you will no longer allow what they did to determine who you are. The soul, when it forgives, does not become weaker. It becomes lighter. It becomes clearer. It becomes closer to its original essence. For the true self was never wounded, never tarnished. Only the mind, the story, the image, only that was bruised, but not the soul. The soul remains what it has always been, free. There is profound wisdom in allowing the past to be past. You do not owe it your allegiance. You do not owe your suffering loyalty. You owe yourself freedom. You owe yourself the release of that heavy burden. because life is not meant to be carried, it is meant to be lived. The lotus grows in the mud, not despite it, but because of it. So too do you rise, not in the absence of pain, but in your sacred decision to grow beyond it. The mind may say, but I can't forgive, it hurts too much. And that is okay. That is not the voice of weakness. That is the voice of someone standing at the threshold of healing. Even the smallest willingness to forgive cracks the door open. And once light finds its way in, healing becomes inevitable. You do not have to forgive perfectly. You only have to forgive honestly. And honesty means acknowledging the pain, not avoiding it. It means sitting with the grief, the rage, the sorrow, not as enemies, but as guests. Let them come, let them speak, let them leave. Your job is not to suppress. Your job is to allow and then to release. Because that is forgiveness. It is the art of letting go without needing to forget, without needing to be repaid, without needing it to be fair. It is a return to the only place where peace is possible, the present moment. Every time you choose to forgive, you return to yourself. You come back to the breath. You come back to stillness. You come back to the open field of now, where nothing is missing and everything begins again. Forgiveness is not a single act. It is a spiritual practice, a way of being, a daily choice to choose love over fear, to choose freedom over bondage, to choose now over then. And with each choice, you soften. With each choice, you rise. You begin to see that the person who hurt you was hurt too, that their unconsciousness was their jail cell, that their blindness was their burden. You don't excuse it, but you see it. And in that seeing, you release the need to make them your jailer, because you are no longer a prisoner. The moment you forgive, you leave the cell. And the lock was never on the door, it was only in your mind. This is not a message for the faint of heart. Forgiveness takes courage. It takes spiritual maturity. It takes a willingness to live by higher laws than the ego can comprehend. It is the highest form of self-love to say, I set myself free, not because you earned it, but because I did. Do you see, dear soul? Forgiveness is not for them. It never was. It's for you, for your healing, for your peace, for your life. Your heart was not designed to be a vault of pain. It was meant to be a sanctuary of love. And love cannot grow where resentment roots. So you must become the gardener. Pull out the weeds of bitterness, water the soil with grace, let the light in, and watch as joy, real joy, returns. Not the kind that depends on anyone else, but the kind that arises simply because you are no longer at war with yourself. When you forgive, you return to the sacred truth that you are not separate, that we are all threads in the same divine fabric. And what you do to another, you do to yourself. When you forgive another, you extend grace inward. When you release your grip on their wrongs, you loosen the noose around your own soul. And yes, it takes time, it takes patience, but it begins with one choice: to stop carrying what doesn't belong to your future. You are not here to drag chains. You are here to spread wings. Let this be your moment of decision, the moment you choose to lay the weight down, to breathe deeper, to feel again, to live, because life, true life, begins where forgiveness flows. There is a silence that follows true forgiveness, not the silence of suppression, but the silence of liberation. It is the stillness that comes when the storm has passed, when the inner courtroom has closed, when you no longer need to keep replaying the trial in your mind. And in that silence, you meet yourself again. Not the wounded self, not the defensive self, but the original self, the self before the story, before the betrayal, before the pain had a name. That self has always been there, waiting for you to put down your sword, waiting for you to stop demanding justice in a world that rarely gives it, waiting for you to realize that freedom isn't given, it's chosen. Forgiveness is that choice. It is not an escape from truth. It is a deeper truth. It is not turning a blind eye. It is opening both eyes fully and deciding to see through them with love instead of fear. You were never meant to be a reservoir of resentment. You are a vessel for light. And when you empty yourself of bitterness, you make space for the radiance of your soul to come forth again. No one else needs to change for you to forgive. The apology may never come. The understanding may never arrive. The other may never even know how deeply they hurt you. But none of that matters. Because forgiveness is not about changing the past. It's about reclaiming your power in the present. You are not bound to the events of yesterday unless you tie yourself to them. You are not sentenced to keep reliving the injury unless you choose to stay within the walls of it. The door has always been open. You've just needed the courage to walk through it. Let go of the belief that suffering equals strength. Let go of the idea that being right is more important than being free. Let go of the inner posture that says, until they see, I won't heal, because they may never see, and you deserve to heal anyway. Your healing is not conditional. Your joy is not contingent on someone else's remorse. You are the source. You are the healer. You are the one who gets to decide how long the pain stays. Imagine your spirit like a bird in a cage, the door wide open, yet unmoving, believing the bars are still there. Forgiveness is the act of realizing there were no bars, only the memory of them, and then spreading your wings. When you forgive, you do not lose yourself. You recover yourself. You become whole, not by rewriting the story, but by rewriting your relationship to it. You look at your pain and say, I bless you. You taught me, but you do not define me. This is how the soul evolves. Not through perfection, but through the sacred choice to rise again and again above the level of injury. To meet darkness not with more darkness, but with the light that says, I am more than what happened to me. You become the space through which healing enters the world. And in doing so, you become a healing to others. You begin to understand why the greatest spiritual teachers walk through betrayal, abandonment, suffering, not to remain stuck in it, but to show what is possible when love is chosen anyway. They taught forgiveness not because it was easy, but because it was transformational. The Course in Miracles reminds us all forgiveness is self-forgiveness, because when you forgive another, you release your own mind from the grip of judgment. You stop punishing yourself by carrying the burden of what cannot be changed. To forgive is not to condone, but to transcend. You rise, you bless, you release, and in that release, you discover a new kind of power, not the power that dominates, but the power that liberates. The power that sets your inner world free so your outer life may follow. There's nothing weak about forgiveness. It is the greatest strength the human spirit can embody. Anyone can fight. Anyone can resent. Anyone can stay wounded. But to love in the face of injury, to release when revenge seems justified, to rise when bitterness feels more familiar, that is mastery. That is the divine in human form. That is you when you remember who you are. So I ask you again, what are you still holding? Whose face still lives in the shadows of your thoughts? What moment still echoes in your chest when silence falls? Let it come to the surface. Let it rise like steam from the body. Don't judge it, just witness it with the eyes of compassion, not contempt. And then bless it. Say, I forgive you. I forgive myself. I forgive this moment for being as it was, and mean it, even if your voice trembles, even if the hurt still lingers, even if your hands shake from the weight of letting go, because forgiveness is not a one-time act. It is a rhythm, a devotion, a return. Every time your mind goes back to the wound, you gently guide it back to love. It is a spiritual muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you become. And eventually the pain that once screamed now whispers. And then one day it vanishes like fog lifting from a valley. And you are still here, stronger, softer, more radiant than ever. This is the truth, beloved. You were not born to hold grudges. You were born to hold light. You were not born to carry pain. You were born to carry peace. You were not born to relive the past. You were born to create the future. And the moment you forgive truly, deeply, and fully, that future begins. There is a softness that emerges in your being. The moment you forgive, not because you have forgotten, but because you have remembered what truly matters. You remember that love is who you are, not what they gave. You remember that peace is not something you wait for, it is something you claim. You remember that you are not the wounded child still begging for recognition. You are the eternal soul stepping back into your power. Forgiveness is not an act of erasing, but of alchemizing. You take what was once heavy and you transmute it into light. You take what once hurt and you turn it into wisdom. You take what was meant to shatter you and you allow it to sculpt the highest version of you. And what is this highest version? It is the you who knows that nothing outside can take away the divinity within. It is the you who understands that no one can truly harm you because your essence is untouchable. They may bruise the body, they may betray the trust, but they cannot scar the soul unless you let the wound linger through unforgiveness. And so you choose to release, not because it feels good in the moment, but because you are ready to stop giving your future to your past. The longer you hold on to resentment, the longer you delay your destiny. Each time you revisit the hurt with bitterness, you say to life, I'm not ready to move forward. But each time you choose forgiveness, even in a whisper, you open the gates for grace to flow again. Life responds to that. The universe breathes a little easier when you choose love. Creation expands when you stop contracting in pain. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is fierce. It requires a kind of inner strength that most people never cultivate because it demands that you rise above the story. It asks you to see through spiritual eyes, eyes that perceive not what was done, but what can be learned, what can be healed, what can be transcended. It is one thing to be right. It is another to be free. And make no mistake, the world does not need more people proving they are right. The world needs more people willing to be free. Free of stories, free of blame, free of the identity that clings to victimhood like a shield, free of the endless if-onlys that circle the mind like birds without nests, free of waiting for others to redeem what they broke. You do not need anyone else to give you closure. Closure is an illusion, a waiting room of suffering. You don't need closure. You need clarity. You need to see that healing was never about the one who hurt you. It was always about your relationship to yourself. When you forgive, you reclaim that relationship. You say to your own heart, I am ready to honor you. I am ready to live for you. I am ready to stop bleeding from wounds that were never yours to carry forever. And in that moment, you awaken. You awaken to the truth that your peace is more important than your pride, that your future deserves more than the echo of betrayal, that your presence cannot coexist with poison. Yes, resentment is poison, subtle, addictive, justified, but poison still. And the only antidote is the fierce grace of forgiveness. Grace that says, I release you, not because you deserve it, but because I do. Grace that says, I will not shrink into bitterness. I will not bow to pain. I will not become what hurt me. Grace that says, I will choose love. I will walk free. I will trust the process of life again. Because life is always waiting with open hands. But it cannot fill what you keep clenching. It cannot bless what you keep guarding. It cannot flow through a vessel that refuses to empty. Forgiveness is the great emptying. It is pouring out the stale wine of the past to make room for the living water of now. It is uncurling your fingers from the stories that once made you feel safe, but now only make you feel stuck. You are not stuck because of what happened. You are stuck because of how you've held it. And the miracle is this. The moment you change how you hold it, the moment you offer it back to the divine, the moment you say, I no longer need to carry this, you become weightless. And with that weightlessness comes vision, clarity, strength, compassion, joy. You begin to see the hidden architecture of the pain, how it shaped your resilience, how it opened your empathy, how it taught you what matters most. You begin to see how every soul is on a journey, and some are still asleep, some hurt others because they don't know how to do anything else. And while that does not excuse the harm, it allows you to release the illusion that their behavior was about you. It wasn't. It never was. It was about their own wound, their own fear, their own confusion. And you, being the light you are, were simply present when their darkness came through. You can honor the truth of your pain and still choose not to let it define you. You can acknowledge the impact and still choose your own liberation. You can tell the truth and still let it go. Because forgiveness is not the absence of memory. It is the presence of wisdom. You remember, but differently. You remember without hate, without shame, without vengeance. You remember with gentleness, with compassion, with a quiet, unshakable strength. You become a living prayer, not for justice, not for revenge, but for peace. A prayer that sounds like this: I forgive you, I release you, I bless the path that brought us here, and I walk forward free. And now, here you are standing at the edge of a new life. A life no longer built on wounds, but on wisdom. A life no longer defined by stories of pain, but by acts of grace. A life that no longer waits for someone to make it right, because you have made the most important choice of all to set yourself free. You may feel lighter already, or you may still feel the ache of letting go, but know this: whatever you feel is right, whatever arises is holy, because in the sacred act of forgiveness, everything becomes a teacher, even your trembling, even your tears. You are walking into the open now, into a future unshackled, into a heart unburdened, into a soul that no longer confuses its light with its losses. And though the world may still spin in its chaos, though others may never understand your depth or honor your path, you will know something they don't: that you are free, that no past can imprison the spirit that chooses to forgive, that no wound is stronger than the one who is willing to heal, that the highest act of courage is to love anyway, to release anyway, to rise anyway. So breathe deeply now, not as the one who was hurt, but as the one who has returned to wholeness. Breathe as the soul who no longer seeks permission to live unburdened. Breathe as the sacred, shining, radiant being you've always been, now uncloaked by the fog of old pain. This is not the end. This is your beginning. The beginning of a life rooted not in what broke you, but in what awakened through the breaking. You are not here to carry scars like trophies. You are here to turn wounds into wings. And forgiveness? Forgiveness is the wind beneath them. Now fly. There is a quiet truth that lives behind every wound, behind every ache in the heart, behind every tear we refuse to cry. It is this: you cannot heal what you will not feel. You cannot rise above what you continue to bury beneath distractions, beneath denial, beneath the hardened mask of pretending everything is fine when your soul is crying for release. Healing is not about escape. It's not about fixing what is broken. It is about returning to what was never broken to begin with. It is about remembering who you are beneath the pain, remembering what it means to feel fully, openly, courageously. We live in a world that teaches suppression as strength and emotional silence as mastery, but the soul knows better. The soul knows that feeling deeply is the portal to transformation, that we do not transcend suffering by avoiding it. We transcend it by walking through it with awareness, with presence, with reverence. To feel is not to be weak, it is to be profoundly alive. And to feel with awareness is to awaken, Your pain is not the problem. Your resistance to feeling it is. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are messengers of the divine asking for your attention. They are rivers of energy flowing through the landscape of your inner world, cleansing, clearing, revealing. Every emotion, even the ones you wish to escape from shame, grief, rage, despair, they come bearing wisdom, they come holding keys. And when you stop running from them and instead sit with them, breathe with them, listen to them, you unlock something ancient and powerful within you. You reclaim your freedom. You were never meant to live a numb life. You were not born to walk through this existence armored and defended, pretending, hiding, escaping. You were born to feel, to love, to cry, to laugh, to shatter and rebuild, to open your heart wide enough to be pierced by life and still keep it open. And in that vulnerability, you become indestructible. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because nothing can own you anymore. There is no bypass to healing. You must go inward. You must enter the inner sanctum of your being where your hidden grief still echoes, where your childhood longings still whisper, where your soul still waits patiently for you to return, not to judge, not to fix, but to feel. The moment you bring presence to your pain is the moment it begins to transmute. Awareness is alchemy. So many carry the belief that to heal means to get rid of pain. But true healing is not about elimination. It is about integration. It is about turning toward what hurts with such deep compassion that the hurt itself begins to dissolve. You do not need to be perfect to be whole. You do not need to be fearless to be free. You simply need to be willing to feel, willing to show up, willing to stop abandoning yourself. The pain you are avoiding is the portal to the peace you are seeking. You want to rise, but you must first descend. You want to be light, but you must first embrace your shadow. You want joy, but you must allow sorrow to have its say. This is the paradox of healing, that the more you allow yourself to feel the depths, the higher you rise into the heights. Breathe and let yourself feel. Let the tears fall if they need to. Let the anger speak if it must. Let the ache be acknowledged. Do not judge what arises. Witness it. Honor it. Emotions are not your identity. They are weather patterns passing through the sky of your consciousness. You are the sky. You are the awareness that holds it all. When you remember that, you no longer fear the storm. You become the calm in the center of it. There is a divine intelligence at work in your inner life. Every emotional wave you ride is not random. It is your soul's curriculum. And when you resist it, you prolong the lesson. But when you surrender to it with open eyes and an open heart, healing happens. Not on your schedule, but in perfect time. Your only job is to show up with love. And that love must begin with you. Not the version of you who's polished and spiritual and always says the right thing, but the version of you who still breaks, who still forgets, who still gets triggered. That version is the one who needs your love most. You cannot hate yourself into wholeness. You cannot shame yourself into enlightenment. You can only embrace yourself home. Forgiveness begins the moment you stop demanding that your past be different. When you stop trying to rewrite what happened and instead listen to what it came to teach you, your past is not your prison, it is your teacher, but only if you allow it to be. You must drop the sword of judgment and pick up the lamp of awareness. The wounds you carry are not punishments. They are invitations. The ego will always want to move fast, to fix, to analyze, to control, but the soul moves slow. The soul does not care how long it takes. The soul cares only that you come home. And coming home to yourself requires that you sit in the very places you once fled from, that you reclaim the parts of you that were exiled in moments of trauma, that you stop betraying your truth just to be accepted, that you feel. When you numb the pain, you numb the joy. When you suppress the sadness, you dilute the love. You cannot selectively numb emotion. The price of avoiding your inner world is the loss of your fullness. And you were not born to live a half-life, you were born for the full spectrum. The beauty, the sorrow, the ecstasy, the grief, the silence, the song, all of it. Let yourself be touched. Let life pierce you. Let your defenses fall. Cry if you need to. Scream if you must. Sit in silence if that's what your soul craves. But above all, feel it. Because feeling is the path. Feeling is the healing. You do not become less by feeling deeply. You become more. You become honest, whole, real. Your emotions are sacred. They are not interruptions to your spiritual path. They are the path. They are not weaknesses to overcome. They are strength in disguise. You have been taught to hide them. But I ask you now, what if you honored them instead? What if you saw your grief not as a failure, but as a sacred river flowing you back to yourself? What if your rage was not dangerous, but holy when expressed with consciousness? What if your sorrow was a doorway to compassion? You do not need to be saved. You need to be seen by you. You need to be felt. You need to be held not by the world, but by your own awakened presence. Can you offer yourself that? Can you sit with yourself like a dear friend? No fixing, no rushing, just feeling, just breathing, just being. You have already survived the thing you feared would break you. And now you are here. Not broken, but broken open. Not shattered, but expanded. The scar does not mean you failed. It means you healed. It means something powerful moved through you, and you live to tell the story. Let the story be love. Let the story be liberation. Let the story be, I came home to myself by finally feeling what I was afraid to feel. You are not your fear. You are not your pain. You are not the memory that plays over and over in your mind. You are the one who sees it. You are the stillness behind the storm. You are the consciousness witnessing the waves of experience rise and fall, and in that witnessing, you awaken. To awaken is not to float above your pain, but to sink so deeply into presence that even your pain becomes illuminated by it. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you begin to ask, what is this showing me? That question asked from the soul unlocks transformation. It takes you out of victimhood and places you in alignment with divine wisdom. You become the alchemist, turning sorrow into strength and tears into truth. There is an intelligence inside your pain. It is not random. It is not punishment. It is initiation. You are being called into a deeper version of yourself, not by escaping the wound, but by entering it consciously. That is the sacred path. That is the hero's journey. You must feel to heal. You must see it to release it, and you must stop pretending that the wound never happened. You are not meant to transcend emotion by rising above it. You are meant to become so fully present with it that it dissolves in your loving awareness. That is the fire of transformation. You do not conquer your shadows by force. You illuminate them with love. You sit with your grief like a child who has been waiting to be held. You listen to your rage like a long-lost friend who was never allowed to speak. You bow before your sorrow and say, you are welcome here. This is not weakness. This is power. Emotional mastery does not come from suppression, but from deep presence. The kind of presence that says, I will not abandon myself anymore. I will not reject this part of me. I will feel this all the way through. And when you do that, something ancient unlocks. A light comes through the wound, and in that light, you rise. The world will tell you to get over it. But your soul says, go into it. The world will tell you to be strong, but your soul says, be real. The world will reward the mask, but your soul longs for authenticity. And it is only when you choose to honor the voice within that healing becomes possible. You are not here to carry the old stories forever. You are here to feel them fully once and let them go. You are not here to keep rehearsing your pain. You are here to extract its wisdom and set it free. Every time you revisit a wound with judgment, you reopen it. But every time you revisit it with compassion, you close it with grace. You don't need closure from someone else. You need release from within. You don't need permission to heal. You just need presence. There is nothing outside of you that can heal what's been ignored within. No apology, no explanation, no validation. The only one who can offer you peace is you. And that peace begins with feeling. So stop asking the pain to leave before it's been fully heard. Sit with it. Speak to it. Ask it what it came to teach you. Ask your sadness what it longs for. Ask your anger what it's protecting. Ask your fear what memory it's tied to. And listen, really listen, with stillness, with reverence, with no agenda but truth. When you become still enough, the truth begins to rise. And when the truth rises, healing happens naturally. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. You let the emotion come up and you let it move through. You became the open channel. And in that openness, you set yourself free. Do not fear the depth of your emotions. Fear the numbness that steals your aliveness. Do not fear breaking down. Fear building a prison inside yourself where nothing is ever allowed to be real. The pain you feel is a doorway. The tears you cry are holy water. The tremble in your voice is sacred. Let it be. You are not broken. You are breaking open. You are not lost. You are being called inward. You are not too much. You are finally becoming honest. This is your path now. Not to pretend, not to avoid, but to feel deeply, bravely, lovingly. Let your feelings move like waves across your soul. Let the energy rise and fall. Let your heart become the ocean vast enough to hold it all. You are not a victim of your emotions. You are the sky that contains them. You are not the pain. You are the presence that welcomes it, transforms it, releases it. You've spent years trying to be strong by not crying. But strength is not in silence, it's in sacred expression. Strength is not about holding it all, and it's about letting it move through you without shame. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to reclaim your wholeness. And that begins with allowing your inner world to speak. Let your body shake if it needs to. Let the sobs come. Let the emotion rise like a wave and crash through you. And then notice what remains. That stillness, that clarity, that space, that is you. That is the self beneath the storm. And the more you return there, the less you fear what passes through. Healing does not require perfection. It requires presence. You do not need to have all the answers. You need only to feel the truth of this moment. That's where freedom lives. In the now, in this breath, in this letting go, when you feel it, you heal it. You were never meant to hold it all inside. What the world calls composure, your soul may call imprisonment. What the world calls strength, your spirit may whisper is suppression. And if you listen carefully, not to the noise of the world, but to the silence within, you'll hear the invitation, the quiet but powerful call. Come back to yourself. Feel. Let it move through you. You see, energy cannot be destroyed. It must move. And every feeling you've ever locked away is still waiting, somewhere in the basement of your being, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be felt just once so it can be free. This is why we cannot heal with the mind alone. The mind will loop, but the body remembers. The heart remembers. The soul remembers. And it is only when we give ourselves permission to feel what we've suppressed that we truly return to wholeness. Every time you said, "I'm fine," when you weren't. Every time you swallowed your tears. Every time you dismissed your own needs for the comfort of others, it stayed inside, and now it longs to be seen. The inner child, the buried grief, the unspoken fears, they do not need to be exercised, they need to be embraced. To feel is to reclaim your humanity. It is to remember that beneath the mask of control, you are still a being of light who came here not to dominate life, but to dance with it, to breathe it in, to open wide, to love with the full capacity of your being, even if it breaks you sometimes, even if it unravels what you thought was you. Because what unravels wasn't you, it was a construct, a survival shell, a layer of protection. But the soul is not interested in protection, it is interested in expansion. And to expand, you must allow the shell to crack. You must allow the river of your truth to flow again. Do not fear the cracking, for it is in the cracking that the light gets in. It is in the cracking that the seed breaks open and becomes a tree. It is in the cracking that the caterpillar dissolves to become a butterfly. You are not dying when you feel deeply, you are transforming. The old is falling away, the new is being born. Let it come. So many believe that healing is about doing another book, another technique, another retreat. But healing is often about undoing. It is about removing the layers that were never you to begin with. The false strength, the numbed out smile, the spiritual bypass, the pretending, the I'm okay mask. When all along, what you needed most was a sacred pausia breatha permission slip to feel. Feeling is not something you must fear, it is something you must relearn. The child in you once felt freely. Tears came with honesty, laughter came from the belly, fear came with trembling. But then came the conditioning. Be strong, don't cry, toughen up. And little by little, the armor was built. But now is the time to take it off. Slowly, gently, reverently. There is nothing wrong with you for having emotions. There is nothing shameful about sadness, nothing weak about anger, nothing flawed in fear. These are the sacred winds of your soul moving through you. Let them, trust them, learn from them. Don't stuff them back in the box because someone told you they were inconvenient. Your healing doesn't need to make others comfortable. You are not here to be digestible. You are here to be whole. To be whole, you must reclaim your pain. Reclaim it not by glorifying it, but by honoring it. By saying, this happened, I feel it, I see it, and I love myself anyway. That is the medicine. That is the liberation. Not that the pain disappears, but that you are no longer afraid of it. You are no longer owned by it. You are now the one holding it in awareness instead of it holding you in fear. The moment you allow yourself to feel, without judgment, something sacred opens. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to realize that there is nothing inside of you that is unworthy of love. Nothing that is too messy, too ugly, too broken to be healed by presence. Your soul does not demand perfection. Your soul simply asks that you return. Return to the breath, return to this body, return to this now. Return to your heart, however bruised, however guarded, and say, I'm here, I'm listening, I won't abandon you again. This is not a one-time act. This is a practice, a devotion, a remembering over and over again that your emotions are not obstacles to awakening. They are the path. They are the truth. And when you trust the truth, even when it hurts, even when it shakes you, you are never truly lost. You are on the path, and the path is inside you. So let the tears come when they come. Let the laughter bubble up without needing a reason. Let the stillness settle in your bones. Let the grief move through your chest like a sacred storm. Let the rage burn clean through the lies. Let the sorrow soften you. Let the love return not from outside, but from within. You do not need to wait any longer. Not for someone to understand, not for the world to slow down, not for the timing to be right. The time is now. The place is here. The healer you've been waiting for is you. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not wrong for feeling how you feel. You are exactly where you are supposed to be in the curriculum of your soul. The lesson is feeling. The exam is surrender. The reward is freedom. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be real, to be honest, to be whole, to be soft, where life once made you hard, to be open where you once had to close, to feel again, and in feeling, to live again. You are not here to be untouched by pain. You are here to discover that pain does not diminish your divinity. It reveals it, because only something eternal can hold what is temporary without breaking. Only something infinite can remain rooted when the winds of life try to shake it. You are not your emotions, but you must feel them. You are not your past, but you must honor it. You are not the pain, but you must face it. Because freedom does not come from avoiding what hurts. It comes from entering the fire with your eyes wide open and your heart even wider. Every tear you've ever cried was holy. Every moment you felt too much was sacred. Every time you broke down, you were breaking open. You were shedding an old identity. You were releasing inherited fear. You were unlearning the belief that being human was somehow shameful. You are not here to be a statue of composure. You are here to be a living, breathing work of art imperfect, evolving, radiant with truth. You see, the world doesn't need more control. It needs more compassion. It needs more people brave enough to feel their own pain so they don't project it onto others. Brave enough to sit with grief without turning it into blame. Brave enough to say, I am hurting, and not be ashamed of that truth. Because that truth is what will heal you. Your healing does not lie in hiding. It lies in unveiling, in revealing what's behind the mask, in telling the truth of what's been buried, in crying the tears that never got to fall, in feeling the weight you've been silently carrying, and finally saying, I'm done pretending. You don't have to be okay to be worthy. You don't have to be strong to be loved. You don't have to be fearless to be free. You only have to be willing to slow down, willing to listen, willing to turn toward your inner world instead of away from it, willing to sit in the silence long enough for your soul to speak, willing to feel not just when it's comfortable, but when it's uncomfortable, especially then, because healing begins in the places we've abandoned. It begins the moment we stop betraying our own heart for the sake of fitting in. It begins when we say, I'm going to feel what I feel, even if no one else understands. It begins when we stop waiting for permission to come home to ourselves. And that journey home, it is not linear. It is not tidy. It is messy. It is raw. It is real. Some days you will cry without knowing why. Some days the joy will rise up like sunlight through your skin. Some days the fear will whisper again. Some days peace will flood you like a river. Let it all be. Let it all come. Let it all move through, because you're not here to control the waves. You're here to remember. You are the ocean. You are vast. You are capable. You are spacious enough to hold everything you feel without losing yourself in it. And when you know this, truly know this, you no longer fear the storm. You dance with it. You breathe with it. You bless it. You see it not as an enemy, but as a messenger. You thank it for what it came to teach you. And then you let it go. You bless and release. You feel and you free. This is the work. This is the path. Not perfection, but presence. Not resistance, but reverence. Not suppression, but sacred surrender. You were never meant to escape your emotions. You were meant to awaken through them. You were never meant to bypass the pain. You were meant to hold it in the arms of your compassion until it no longer needed to scream. And if the tears come, let them come. They are not weakness. They are your soul's way of cleansing, of making space for something new. They are the rainfall that softens the hardened earth of your being. If the anger rises, let it rise consciously, safely, without shame. It is the flame that burns away the lie that you must always smile to be spiritual. If the grief comes, do not rush it. Sit with it like an old friend who never got to speak. Listen, and you will hear the voice of your soul beneath the sorrow. It will not scream. It will whisper. And that whisper will say, you are safe now. You can feel this. You are ready. And if joy bursts through the cracks of your healing, do not doubt it. Let it pour in. You are allowed to feel joy, even in the middle of your process. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. Feel it all. Feel it fully. Because when you feel it, you heal it. And healing is not the end. It is the beginning of a new relationship with yourself. One that is built not on control or avoidance, but on unconditional presence. One where you stop abandoning yourself when things get heavy. One where you trust your inner world enough to sit with it. One where you realize the feelings you feared were never here to hurt you. They were here to free you. And they have, because now you know you don't have to run anymore. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to push it all down just to make it through the day. You can feel, you can breathe, you can be. This is your return. This is your rebirth. This is your liberation. And it began the moment you said yes, not to fixing yourself, but to feeling yourself. Yes to the tears. Yes to the trembling. Yes to the unknown. Yes to the truth. Yes to the sacred unfolding of your own beautiful becoming. And now, breathe. Feel it all one last time. Let it wash through you. And as you exhale, let it go. Because it's not who you are. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not your fear. You are the one who felt it all and survived and transformed and rose and remembered. You do not heal by hiding from what you feel. You heal by finally, lovingly, fully feeling it. You are free now. Welcome home